Hello everyone. Today's video is all about the International English Level Testing System, better known as IELTS, and in particular the listening section of the test. The listening section of the test is one that presents many problems for a lot of students and quite often stops them from achieving the band that they're looking for to achieve in the IELTS test. In this video, I'm going to highlight 6 items of the test that create these problems for the test takers. But don't panic, because I will also be suggesting ways to overcome these problems and let you obtain success in the test. If this is an area that concerns you, then keep watching, because this may make all the difference to you and your future. Thank you for coming. Let's go. So let me go through the 6 fundamental reasons why students find the IELTS listening test so difficult. Let me start by letting you know that I am an independent teacher mentor, and over the last 5 years I have assisted hundreds of students actually to achieve their band levels for success. And just so that you're aware, there are no easy parts to the IELTS test. All 4 disciplines look at the test taker's English ability. The difference being between the sections is the way the test is administered to measure the ability. And that is why the various strategies for each section need to be considered. It just so happens that the listening section needs some special considerations. So let's take a look where the problems lie. The first problem that I often come across is that many test takers have not really looked at the receptive skills part of the test. The receptive skills, of course, being the reading and the listening. They believe that reading is reading and listening is similar. So why worry about these aspects when they can both hear okay and they can read okay? Just concentrating on the productive skills, that's the priority, speaking and writing, and I can understand that. This results in that they do not understand the format of the 2 reading and listening tests, and also how to address the different question types, and that is the very first big mistake. The next area to create a problem: in the IELTS test, we come across a range of speakers from different parts of the world. Just in the UK, we have 4 countries, England, Scotland, Wales and Ireland, and all have their own accents and many different dialects. Then, of course, we have a range of different English-speaking countries, USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, to name just some of them. In the IELTS test, they are very careful that whatever speakers you hear in the test do speak clearly, but they may still have an accent. This should not really present a problem, but people who are not used to listening or speaking English, it can give them problems when they do not understand everything that is being said. Another big problem area: listening skills. When someone is told they have to listen to something for 30 minutes, or half an hour as we say, sounds like no problem. But let me say that again, but this time I will add that while you're listening, you also have to be thinking. And you've got to be reading. And also you've got to be writing. So now that half-hour listening is a brand new ball game, and you just to add a little bit more to the problem, this is part of a test. And just maybe you have to get this right, or your future may depend upon it. I could easily expand this problem by telling you that this problem, how quickly all this can go wrong in the listening test. And I even scare myself thinking about this sometimes. I'd like to tell you something here. When I look on the internet, I see many advertising that if you follow them, they will take you from somewhere around a band 6 level to a band 9 in just 2 or 3 weeks if you follow their advice. That is absolutely impossible because of the next problem area, vocabulary. Every aspect of the IELTS test rates the vocabulary of the person taking the test. In the listening, you have to answer a given amount of questions, and yes, you are going to hear the answers in the audio, but the answers may be synonymous or paraphrased, and in an ongoing conversation you have to identify what you are looking for in whatever form it is being presented in. That is really testing your vocabulary level and can obviously create problems. Just like most of the language ability tests that I teach also, IELTS makes you work against the clock. In fact, this aspect does put a lot of pressure on the test takers. I think it's particularly difficult in both the reading and the listening tests because it makes things much more difficult for you. For certain in the listening test, it is a big enemy. It is working against you all the time. If you hesitate, just for a moment too long, the audio that you're listening to has moved away from you, and very quickly time can destroy your chances of success. And it's another very scary aspect of the IELTS listening test. In my experience of assisting people to be successful in IELTS, there is a common problem that I've come across. Many of the test takers that come to me, I get the majority of my students from China actually, and other countries around Southeast Asia. Thailand is where I live, Singapore, Vietnam, India, etc. Also, most of the people coming to me are students who are getting close to graduation and are now looking past that big event into the future, looking to do maybe master degrees in other countries or attend specialist colleges to start progressing their careers. All exciting stuff. Where the problem arises that they are only now looking at getting the IELTS band they require for their future. And it is only then that they get an idea of what is in front of them and how big a task is at hand. You know, I'm very proud to admit that I have met some very special students that have really worked hard to get their IELTS qualification. No stars in their eyes about bands 8 or band 8.5 or 9, but they're being much more realistic and aiming for the bands that they actually need for entries into their places that they want to get to, the 6.5s or the 7s, and that's what they're really aiming to get, and they're going to work their hearts out to make sure they get there. So the problem here is that IELTS test takers often do not give themselves realistic timescales to get the success that they want. That's something that people need to be aware of. It's not an easy task, it's a significant task to get your band scores in IELTS. So, all my wonderful IELTS test takers, I really apologize if highlighting these problems has maybe depressed you at this time. But don't be depressed. Just be aware of what you now know and make a strategy to solve these problems, because everything I've told you can be in your control. And let me explain how. If you do not know already, get to know the IELTS listening test. Make it familiar, make it that you know it very well. Know the 4 sections of the test and how they get more difficult as the test progresses. Maximize the opportunities of the first 2 sections of the test, which are a little easier, but know about the tricks and the traps that IELTS puts in front of you. Practice hard on sections 3 and 4, which are the more difficult subject matters and have slightly more complex, difficult questions. Be realistic. Set your goals for the listening test for 7.5, and then if you get higher, an 8, 8.5, a 9. Then celebrate, but practice, practice, practice. Listening skills. You've got to improve your listening skills. It's an absolute must. I strongly recommend that you listen to podcasts or blogs. Even better if you can find them with transcripts which you can follow as you listen, and this will help with your vocabulary also. If you have a smartphone or a tablet or a computer with a connection to the internet, then you have access to thousands of material, blogs, etc. you can draw on to listen whenever you want to. Choose blogs that interest you, or podcasts that interest you. That way you're not going to get bored. Listen to audios from various countries, which is absolutely perfect practice for accents. Immerse yourself as much as possible in English every spare moment you have. Sitting on buses, trains, sitting drinking a coffee. Any time you have, get used to sitting and listening to English. Time management. Dear. This is very important. Controlling your time during the test is absolutely crucial. I think I indicated earlier that in the listening test it is very easy to lose control of time, and that has proven to be a disaster for many thousands of students in the past. If you have had this experience already, please comment about it below. Let other test takers know about it. My one really big piece of advice: if you think you have missed something in the test, do not dwell on it. Do not try to think about it. Forget it. Move on quickly. Follow the audio. Do not start missing other questions, because that's what happens to a lot of people. So bear that in mind. Staying focused. Actually, when talking about IELTS, I find that most students that I know do keep very focused on what they are trying to achieve. When I work with my students, I am their mentor, and I'm also making sure they are staying focused. But people taking IELTS in general have a plan, and often that plan is what's keeping their eye on the ball. Sometimes it can seem like a big mountain to climb, but when you're reaching the top or the level that you're aiming for, then you start smiling. You know you're achieving. And there's a lot of satisfaction in that. Well, there we are. In this video I have highlighted the problems that I see, and I hope I have also counteracted this by telling you how and motivating you to address the problems. I am now starting a whole series of videos on IELTS success that will be coming out regularly. It would be much appreciated if you could consider motivating me by subscribing to my channel and maybe giving me a thumbs up and a ring the bell for future notifications as my videos come out. Thank you for watching, and my very best wishes in your IELTS test. I hope you get the band levels that you're aiming for and better. Take care.